Hi, thanks for talking to me again. I appreciate it. I enjoyed the finale. We talked at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, me with John, I remember.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, you were both there. So what I want to start to talk about is obviously what happened with in the finale is preceded by what happened with Kelsey and her being on the ventilator and everything. How much does his guilt kind of over that? I'm just curious in your opinion, does that affect sort of the decisions that he makes? And not anything in particular, but just when he's making decisions, is he still think about things like that? Or is he somebody who kind of can, move on from that kind of thing?
I think it's more like that's a really good question. Wow. That's a really good question, right, Allison? Yeah, I think Bashir can compartmentalize in that level where he's just like, I did the best that I could. I absolutely did the best that I could, but he also, and he doesn't feel any guilt or feel shame about that. But I think he empathizes so deeply with people's circumstances that to know that something that he did affected someone's life so greatly, I think he just feels it as opposed to feeling guilty for it. We've seen time and time again, like even his decision to fight the lawsuit and everything like that, as opposed to just pleading guilty and everything like that, is him admitting to himself and everybody around him that, listen, man, there's a margin of error. This is not, it's called medical practice for a reason. It's not a exact science every time, and people get hurt. Now we can't save every life, and we can't whatever. But I think Mags being caught in the crossfire, Bishop taking the hit for it, this other superior medical authoritative figure in Dr. Grisham, him coming by exacerbates his anxiety and his tension and his need to save lives and do his best. That I think all of those manifest in not so much guilt, but in his desire to make things right. And as a textbook people pleaser, and I can relate. And yeah, I think it does informs his decisions and his hesitations in future procedures. Like when we see, I think there's a moment with June and Theo where they come up and they want to do some cowboy sort of scenario, but because it isn't by the book and protocol, I think he just hesitates a bit because he doesn't want to be on the hook again and somebody else getting involved again based on a decision that he made. So yeah.
All right.
Terrific question. Thanks for making me think about that one. That was great.
Sure. So he finds out at the end of the last episode that it seems like Bishop has not actually talked to the dean at his college and he may be in trouble. Obviously he wants to save Bishop. I mean, that seems to be, and you're talking about, pleasing people, that seems to be his goal, but is he, I'm trying to think how to ask this, like, what is he thinking about though? Is he not thinking about himself at all? Like, what about Amira and all that? Kind of what is his plan, I guess, that he thinks will happen if he quits and loses his job?
I mean, we see in the cold open of the finale, when he's talking to Khaled, who at the end of that episode, right after he finds out that, there's that awesome catharsis where not catharsis, but that big payoff that, like, okay, Khaled's not going to be deported anymore. This is great. But I think that he just doesn't want other people to suffer as a result of his decisions. When in the beginning of the episode, he even says that I'll be the one to take the hit for it. If somebody's been lying about, like for my benefit, it just doesn't sit well with him. I think the shock initially of thinking you had a safety net and then that being pulled away, I think when he has that, so you didn't speak to the dean? Like, this whole time I thought you were doing this, but now you're involved in my lie, or not my lie, but you've lied for me and jeopardized yourself. I think in terms of Amira and everything like that, I think his desire to take care of her will always be there. And he says to Khaled, and it's a beautiful line, like, if there's one thing I know, it's how to survive. So I don't think he's too worried about what he'll do after, because he'll make it work. A man who can go through prison, who can go through being tortured, get on a boat, flee his country, lose everything, lose his parents, and end up in Canada and find a way for a couple of years. This man can do anything. So I don't think he has that esteem issue where, like, what am I going to do to like save myself or save Amira? He's done it all, and he's willing to do it again. If it's all about finding another job, I'm sure it's a right side better than having to flee your country. So he'll figure it out. Don't think that's part of his concern. So yeah, he'll just find a way to make it work. But what he can't reconcile is somebody else taking the hit for him.
And this is sort of continuing on that, but the case that's in the episode, there's kind of this discussion about living your life and not just, enjoying your life. I guess I should say living it to the fullest. Do you think, though, that he's too self-sacrificing? I mean, is that stopping him from living the life he should be living, or do you think that what he's doing is the right thing?
Yes to both. I think he's trying to find a way to make the most of the opportunity that he's given, but his conditioning is such that if he has to throw himself in the line of fire, I think there's still the survivor's guilt, that we see not only with his PTSD in season 2, but I mean having lost his parents and stuff. But I think the way that it starts to affect how people see him and how he sees himself, he needs to start living for himself a bit, being a little bit selfish. And it isn't until he starts doing that he's going to actually be the best brother or the best doctor and everything like that. But self-actualization and self-help, I mean, those are things people spend their entire lives on, and I think that'll be a constant journey throughout Bashir's life, and people will be affected by that depending on where he is in that journey.
Okay. And whether it's that or something completely different, what do you think is his biggest flaw?
Oh my goodness. I think he's got a bit of he doesn't exercise his self-love. He just doesn't see himself as worthy of that. He's got the medical acumen. He's got a good amount of arrogance with his job, but I just don't think he's deserving of those things such that limits him from being the actual human person that he does. He puts a lot of pressure on himself to be this model image of what a human being is. So when his flaws or when any of that peaks out, he spirals and wants to make sure that everything is contained and everything. And obviously, that we're talking about Bash here, right? But yeah, I would say that he's bad at exercising self-love.
Okay. In general, do you think that they keep showing his flashbacks, obviously he has PTSD, but do you think, how much is that still affect, I guess, his ability to be a good doctor, or does having lived through what he's lived through, is that maybe more of a positive thing in your opinion? Like, how does that affect him still?
Personally, I think it's a positive thing because, you've dealt with so much that, like, ultimately, if your chief thing is to like save lives and at any cost, maybe he doesn't have a soft touch or a great bedside manner or anything like that. Although I do think Bash has a pretty good bedside manner, but in the things where like he prioritizes everybody else's life, to a fault, and I think it makes him a tremendous doctor. His instinct, his experience, his resourcefulness, these are all virtues that he brings to the table that sets him apart from everybody else and put him in the position, just how, in the series opener, and how he saved Bishop's life amongst everybody else who was in that, he saves the restaurant owner's vision, and that lady with the precordial thump and all that stuff. These are all things that make him Bashir.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, when you first got the role, did you do a lot of research into like PTSD and things like that, or was it more towards the medical side? Like,
I mean, we with my coach and with all the readings that Joe and everybody at Sphere prepared for me, the writing team, and they did such a great amount of research that I was sent documentaries and readings and all of this stuff. But we did a fair amount of work on PTSD and sort of the shadow that brings to somebody's life, where it's it's always peripheral. It's never something that disappears fully. You just learn to live with it, in a way that it doesn't obstruct your experience or your judgment or anything like that. So it's always, it's like that squiggly line in the periphery of your vision, to quote Stewie Griffin. Horrible reference. I don't know why I went there right now, but yeah, it's just something that as soon as you try to look at it, you can't, but it's always there. So it's I think as far as research is concerned, having spoken to some of the consultants who went through this, doing some readings, and trying to bring what my constant insecurities are, what my constant stressors are into that work, I think have informed Bash's story, and hopefully it's been engaging to watch.
Yeah, it is. Now, switching to a lighter topic, can you talk a bit about sort of maybe tease, and this, obviously you've got a season 3. Congratulations, that's awesome. Hopefully we'll find out when it's on NBC soon. But can you maybe talk about Bash and Mags, and is there anything headed their way? Are they ever gonna get closer? You just kind of talk about that.
Over the both characters have been through so much, and with losing their mentor in that capacity, and just these private relationships that they have gone through, everything with the lawsuit, and there's an opportunity for them to explore each other in a way that they haven't had before, and we do see that in a capacity moving forward, and it is their relationship does change quite a bit to what we've seen, and that's as much as I'm going to say.
Okay. So how much kind of, could you talk about the parts of you that, as you're talking, I hear you talk about, the parts of you that are in him, but what part of you is most different from him? Like, what do you struggle maybe connecting with on that level?
I think Bashir is an intensely honest person, where he's so comfortable living in the reality of his life, where he accepts things and he's willing to fall apart in the face of those things that he doesn't want to accept but does. I struggle with that more. I think I'd still have like a little bit of like arrogance, or thinking that I'm the architect of my own life, and his humility and his command of, or not even command, but his humility in accepting his realities is far greater than my own, because I just feel like I can change my circumstances a bit, can delude myself into thinking that I'm happier than I am, or I'm further along in my career than I am, or that I have dealt with certain things which I haven't, and stuff. And it's he's very assured in who he is as a person, even though he struggles with it. And he knows who he is, and I envy that. I envy that. I'm working on it, but yeah, I do envy that.
All right. If you could write, whatever you wanted for him, what would you like to see happen for him?
Oh, do you want to hear this one? Because like I've been pitching this to Joe since we started. Yeah, Ali, should I say it? It is absolutely not going to happen. So I can say it, right? So if I could, okay, this is purely because we're living in TV network land, and it could happen here. Anywhere else, it would be just like, come on, man, is this the story? But any other, if I could write anything for Bash, I think he would run into some kind of situation where this is my pitch for the series finale. So here we go.
Okay.
So here we go. Bash is, he's fine. Life is working out. Everything is good, and blah, blah, blah. And, I shouldn't be saying this, but it's a bit much. Should I stop? Yeah, it's never going to happen. Joe's told me it's never going to happen. So I think he sacrifices himself. He goes into increasingly dangerous situations, and something happens, and he dies. and Mags with her heart issue, at some point, so at some point he signs up to be an organ donor. Bash dies. Mags gets Bash's heart, and transplant. And because she's been having these difficulties with her, cardiologist and all this stuff. And the series would end in Amira showing up to the hospital using her father's stethoscope to listen to her brother's heart in Mags's chest. It is so cheesy, and they're never gonna. But I've been pitching this since season 1. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be just like, oh my god, like this is so, but like it's kind of nice too. You know what I mean? And it would just be like, and then just, cut to black, transplant, end of story. You know what I mean? I feel like that would be cool, but there's no way that that's ever.
No, I think you're the first person who has ever said they want to see their character die. I know you said the end of the show, I know, but it's just not what I usually hear.
I said the series finale.
Series finale. All right.
Season finale. But I feel like, and then that would open up to, hey, this is an open pitch to NBC, and then the spinoff could be Amira in med school a couple years later, and then the transplant of somebody who came to Canada as a refugee at age 12, navigating the med school system, picking up all this debt, figuring out residencies, matching, blah blah, all this stuff. I think that would be a really compelling story. And then Bash could come back in flashback form the way his dad did. You know what I mean? Like,
there, you keep a job there.
No, I mean, if they want, if audiences come back, like the way Dexter's dad comes back, you know what I mean? Like as his dark passenger or whatever.
True.
But anyway, that's my ridiculous pitch.
That's okay. That's good. All right.
Which is also why I'm not a writer on the show.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Well, have a good day.
Okay. Thanks very much.
All right. Thanks a lot.